Welcome to Gaga Knits. My name's Anita and I live in South Wales in the UK, and this is episode 15. Welcome to my craft room. I've moved it round. I'm always moving my rooms around, and this is a podcast about knitting, sewing, crochet, walking my dog, and any other little crafty adventures I get up to that I think might interest you and that I like to do. So let's get started with Anita from the past, and I shall be back to speak with you in a little while.
Well, we're back in the caravan and it's raining again, obviously. We're here for a week and it's Saturday today, and I think it's raining today and tomorrow and hopefully brightening up for the rest of the week. So we've just got here today, and Martin's gone off to get us some fish and chips because we don't want to venture far and we haven't been shopping yet. And we've been here for a couple of hours and I've sat and done a little bit of knitting, and just this week we haven't got any people visiting and we're just going to have a quiet week to ourselves with no real plans, and we're just going to let the week unfold and see what happens. I've brought a couple of projects with me. I'm still working on my baby flax. That's what I've been doing today, but it's getting a bit dark now, so I'm going to have to stop because it's very dark yarn. And here it is. I've been working on the little sleeve. It does take a long time. That's a couple of, well, not a couple of hours, but it's taken quite a while just to do that. And I've also brought a new project with me. That's for me, which is the Anouk Cardigan by Andi Satterlund. I have made it before, but I think I chose the wrong yarn and it came out too baggy really. But I gave that to my mum and she tried it on and she really liked it, and she's a bit bigger than I am, so it fitted her nicely. And I'm using my Knit Picks yarn that my sister-in-law brought over from America for me. It's the wool of the Andes in the pumpkin, and I have only really just cast on. Oh, I made myself a new bag out of a cushion of my daughter's that she had when she was very young, and it got a bit faded around the edge, so I cut that off and just put the zip on the other way round. So now that's a good size bag for sweaters and cardigans, so it's in that. I'll try and do another little vlog towards the end of the week and we'll see how I've been getting on with my projects. And I want to say thank you to everyone who sent me positive messages on my vlogging last time. And I have to say my new laptop is amazing. It is so quick to do the editing and there's no buffering, and it's very quick to upload to YouTube as well. So hopefully I shouldn't get any more problems with my laptop. Ooh, Charlie's crying. Well, we're still on holidays. It's Thursday. I have no idea the date. And it looks like it's going to be a sunny day. And today we're going on a bit of a yarny adventure. In West Wales you get this newspaper called Coast to Coast, and it tells you all the things that are going on around the areas. And I put a little sticky in mine. Today we're going, it's about an hour's drive away, to the Onward Flocks in Llandyssil, and they are a farm showroom selling quality wool and mohair products from our own flocks of coloured sheep and Angora goats. And they sell yarn. and we've rung them this morning and they are open, so we're going there to buy some yarn. I want to buy a sweater's quantity to knit a nice winter jumper. I have a jumper in mind on my Ravelry queue. I'll put the name of it down below. And I want to get the undyed yarn, the brown, because they've got all different flocks of sheep, different colours, so I want to buy some brown and some just cream, because I want a little bit of colour work along there. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm supposed to be doing the washing up at the moment while Martin's in the shower, but I thought I'd rather chat to you instead. I'm just watching because people are out and about, but I think I'm a bit mental. So I've been working away on my projects while we've been here because the weather has been a bit hit and miss. So we've had some rainy evenings and I've sat in, and I have actually finally finished my little flax light. It's so cute. Now, it's a really easy pattern from Tin Can Knits, but I realised it's my first jumper that I've knit fully in the round, because I was brought up to knit the English style, which is in pieces and sew them together, but I much rather knit in the round, but it takes a little bit of getting used to. I did several years ago buy a Susan Crawford the children's Christmas jumper, and I knitted a jumper for Harry, and that was in the round, but it went completely wrong. It was before I discovered YouTube tutorials, so I just couldn't get my head around it, but now I look and I think, why couldn't I do it? It's simple when you know how. But anyway, I bought the pattern from her website and the yarn, because I remember contacting her. It was the first jumper I'd knit in 4-ply, saying, are you sure I've ordered enough yarn, because the little balls seemed very small. But obviously she said it's the yardage when it comes to 4-ply, not the weight, because I was used to buying balls in 50 grams or 100 grams and knitting with double knitting or Aran weight, so you used to have big balls and plenty of them. Sounds a bit rude. But anyway, so this jumper is absolutely delightful. It's a really good first pattern to use if you are learning to knit in the round. Although obviously it's me and I went wrong. So when you had to do the increases here, my stitch count was out, so I had to do a couple of extra rows. So that was okay. And then when I picked up for the sleeves, I took meticulous notes as to how many rows for each little section I did, so I wanted the next sleeve to be exactly the same. So I copied it identically, I thought, but when I got to the bit where I was meant to be then doing the cuff, I was about here, and I thought, well, how have I gone wrong? But I went wrong. There was a section after picked up the stitches to knit the sleeve where it said knit 2, and I read that as knit 2 rounds, but it was knit 2 inches before doing the decreases. So my second sleeve I have done the decreases, and there's only 6 over 18 rows, so it's not too bad. And then my 2 inches are on the end, so one sleeve is slightly thinner than the other. I did consider taking it back, but I think after blocking it'll be fine. And it's handmade, so it's meant to be a little bit different. I'm sure grandson number 2 won't mind. So I've been working on that, and I have started a new project which I brought away. I showed you the bag earlier on, but I didn't show you the project because at the time I had done about 3 rows. But now I have done, it's another top down, but this time it's a cardigan, and it's an Andi Satterlund pattern. I don't know how well you can see this because my camera doesn't have the flip out screen, and if I film on the camera I usually put a mirror behind it, but as we're in the caravan and you're propped up on a bottle of water the Book of Dust, which I'm reading, and my tablet, so I can't see you. But anyway, I've done that much. And look at that for a game of yarn chicken. I just had enough to finish the row. I hate finishing a ball of wool in the middle of the row because I don't like it if you can sometimes see the lump behind, so that was a stroke of luck. And the other project I'm doing from a very old issue of Simply Crochet, issue 36, is Little Lily. I thought it was very appropriate for our caravan holidays because it always seems to rain, and she's got a little coat, a little raincoat on. So I've got that far so far. I'm just knitting her hood. It's a little kit that comes with the magazine. I had just about enough yarn to do the head. The amount of yarn they give you is very, very tight to the pattern, so I wasn't allowed to go wrong, because often I go wrong and just adjust, but you couldn't because you wouldn't have had enough yarn, so I'm getting on with that. It's quite tough on the fingers because the hook is a 2mm hook, and that's very fine. And when I started learning to crochet and I needed different hook sizes, I bought this kit of different ones, and they were different colours, so I thought they were quite nice, but really hard on your hands because look how thin that is. But still, no pain, no gain. So I better get on and do these dishes before Martin comes back from the shower, and then we're off to buy some yarn. See you later.
I'd just like to make it clear that I did finish Harry's Christmas jumper. As I remember it, it was a couple of years ago. I knitted it half in the round and half back and forth, flat in knit and purl, because I didn't quite understand the pattern. I should have a go again because I think I'm a lot better at it now. I'll put a picture of how the jumper should look, and then I decided I wouldn't put so many reindeer around the yoke as the pattern suggested. I just put 2, and for some reason the reindeers should be facing inwards and mine are facing outwards, but it all came together quite well, and Harry liked the jumper in the end, so that's all that matters really, isn't it? So we made it to Anouk Flocks. We looked it up on the internet and it looked like it was about 3/4 of an hour drive away from where we were staying. So we decided to put my sat-nav on, or I decided we'd put my sat-nav on to direct us there, and I have never driven down so many narrow lanes. We went down lots and lots of narrow lanes, and we ended up on a housing estate, and my sat-nav said we had reached our destination, and obviously we hadn't. So then Martin decided he would put his phone on and follow that, and it turned out we were about 20 minutes away, and by the time we got there it had taken us about nearly 2 hours, but he's very easygoing and he didn't mind, and it was a lovely place. And there was it was Christine and Peter run Anouk Flocks, and when we got there Christine was selling some goats and some kids to a lady, so she was busy. So Peter very kindly took us into the area where all the wool was kept, and it does say it's a showroom, but in fact it's the dining room of their farmhouse, and it's absolutely chock-a-block with yarn. They have Angora goats who are really, really cute, and all different kinds of sheep. And I had wanted to get some yarn. Well, I'll tell you about the farm first. Because Christine was busy and Peter didn't know anything about the yarn, he said while we were waiting he would take us on a tour of the farm. So that was really nice. So we went around some of the fields, not all of them, because I think he said they've got 70 acres, but he took us to see some of the male goats, and then he took us to see the babies and We saw some of the sheep, and I took a little video of the Angora goats because they are so cute. When Peter called them, they all ran off to one side because he said they think they're getting their food, and then they gave us the funniest look because they didn't understand where was their food, and then they very tentatively came over to see us, and they're obviously really well loved, and they were like pets, all of them. So that was really nice. And then when Christine had finished selling her goats, she came back into the farmhouse so she could help me. She was very helpful in helping me choose some yarn. Now my plan, although the mohair was beautiful and she dyes it herself, and I probably will go back. They have an online shop. I have she didn't give me a card, but they gave me their little leaflet. And I don't know if you can see the bottom is lighter. I will put a link to her website. I haven't looked at the website, so I don't know what it's like. But I will get some mohair from her. It was so beautiful, but I didn't have a project in mind to use it. But what I had really wanted was to get some wool that was the same colour as the fleece of the sheep that it comes from. And so she had some of that, and I wanted 4-ply because I wanted to do this pattern here, which is the Branches and Buds Pullover by Carrie, Bostick, Hoge. And I chose this is the Fawn. So I've got 3 skeins of the Fawn, and I'm dropping them, and I've matched it with the cream. I think, yes, just cream Fleck it says, because Christine showed me a jumper that had been knitted up in something similar, and you can't see, and it's not even coming up cream on there, but when you knit it up there's little flecks in it. It's absolutely beautiful, and I don't think it's going to be scratchy. It's going to be lovely. So I am going to cake up the cream, that one, tonight, so that I can do my swatch square, because I'm being very good and I'm doing that from now on. So I'm looking forward to knitting with that. I've got some notes here to keep me on track. Now before we went away in the caravan, I spread out my Spindrift Shawl to block it, as it's all finished, and it was all dry by the time I came back, and here it is, and it's so beautiful. And I'm looking forward, well, the weather has totally cooled down now. We have been away in our caravan 3 times this year. We've had absolutely beautiful summer here in Britain, and the 3 times we went away it rained, but it meant I got lots of knitting done. Not this time, but the time before I knitted on this. So I'm not quite sure how you should put it on. There we are. So I've knitted this, and it's lovely and soft, and I still have some yarn left. I'm looking over there because all my little balls of wool I put over there. I know lots of people are doing cozy memory blankets, and also crocheted square blankets, but I was wondering if you could make a blanket out of your swatch squares, because they're all meant to be 4 inches by 4 inches. So I might do something with those, because they are memories, aren't they? Because it's every pattern you've made, you've got a swatch square. Well, you should have a swatch square if you are well behaved. So that's the Spindrift Shawl, and I really like this pattern because nearly every pattern I do, as I've said before, I always go wrong, and I haven't at all on this one, because look at the directions. Every single row has its own directions, and then at the end of the row it tells you how many stitches should be on your row, and then you tick to say you've done that row, and also as it runs down tells you a percentage of how far you've got. That didn't interest me so much, but finding out they had right number of stitches and just being able to tick as I went along obviously is the way forward for me because I didn't make any mistakes. So I'm really pleased with that. So that's a lovely pattern, the Spindrift Shawl. So if anyone was doing a new to shawl knitting, I'd recommend that. Or knitting in the round or knitting on circulars, because I think the daunting thing about it is there's so many stitches on your needle. And when you're used to knitting in the flat, you only have perhaps the front or the back at one time, or in a cardigan even half of that. So anyway, that was that one. And right, I've told you about that. I've got some notes because I always tend to finish the podcast and think, oh, I didn't tell you this or I didn't tell you that. And my other project that I showed you while we were away is my Anouk Cardigan, and that's coming along nicely. Not much further on, I think, than when I showed you, but I'm seeming to be on track with my stitches here as well. The pattern isn't as detailed as the Spindrift as to how many rows or how many stitches you've got, but I'm just counting to make sure that the front, if I do in the left front, then I've got the same amount of stitches on the right front. So I'm just being more careful, not doing a mad dash. There's a slight little pattern at the top, and then you repeat it again towards the bottom just before you do the waistband. So that's coming along nicely. I haven't got any more works in progress for knitting. I know you should always have some socks. I have ordered some sock yarn because Josh wants some yellow socks to go out on his mountain bike. So I'm waiting for that to arrive, and then I'll have some socks on the needles. But I've got this cardigan, and I'm going to start the Branches and Buds pullover. So I think that's probably 2 big projects and a pair of socks. That should be enough to keep me going. Otherwise, you don't feel you're really getting anywhere on any of them. Right, so that's my works in progress. Oh, and my Anouk cardigan is being knitted in Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, worsted weight in pumpkin. Now, I've done a little bit of crochet this week too. I have finished my little doll, my Lilly doll, that I showed you when we were camping. It's out of an old copy of Simply Crochet. I've got quite a few, what's the magazine called? Molly Makes magazines, because I had a subscription of Martin one Christmas, and I haven't done any of the projects that came with the magazine. And I've also got some Simply Crochet magazines that I bought whenever I thought the little project on the front was cute, and I haven't done any of those either. Well, I didn't until I did Lily, and then she's got a little hat. It was quite hard to do, hard on the fingers with my little crochet hook, and they don't give you much yarn, so if I do, like I say, I have a tendency of going wrong, and then I usually just adjust, but you couldn't with this because you would run out of yarn, so I had to be very well behaved and concentrate and get her finished. So, and her little legs don't stand her up, she falls over. But I'm thinking I might keep her in the caravan, or I might get a little caravan. You can get little caravan bird houses, wooden ones, which are quite cute, and I might get one and put it in my craft room somewhere and sit her outside. So anyway, I finished her. Plus, I thought I would make a little baby item because there's so many babies being born shortly. And I was making this for my friend in work, and she doesn't know whether she's having a boy or a girl. And I used the Debbie Bliss Eco Baby Prints cotton. And I'm not quite sure what weight this is supposed to be. I assumed it was 4-ply or even double knit, I don't know. And the colours are really pretty. and I decided to make the baby Sprite, and I think that was a free pattern on Ravelry, and I finished it, but look how big it is. It's huge. Well, it looks big, so it's not going to fit a little baby. I fancy it's way too big. So I have got some of this Eco Baby Debbie Bliss yarn in some other colourways as well. I bought two 50-gram balls of 3 different colours, so I've got 50 grams of this left, and I've got 100 grams of the other two. So if any of you have any suggestions of a pattern I could use, because I think it knits up really big, and perhaps cotton stretches, I don't know, I've not really knitted much with it. I really like the colours, and then it's just made this huge hat, and the baby Sprite is only one size, so that's it. Anyway, the thought was there, so that was my other crochet project. So I had 2 finished objects there, and in sewing, my son likes off-road mountain biking, like I say, and he has asked me to make him a bike top, and they're made out of sort of lycra jersey. I'm not quite sure what the material is, and Minerva Crafts were having a sale, so I bought some lycra dress fabrics just to try them out because they were on sale, and they're a bit gaudy because these are the colours he likes when he's out riding his bike. Well, I got black, as I could do the ribbing and little bits on there, or he wouldn't want black, but I've also got orange. Now that does not look as bright as it is. It is bright neon orange, and then the yellow is also bright neon yellow, so what you're seeing isn't actually as bright as it's going to be. And I bought the threads to go with it because I always like to try and buy the threads because I'm building up a nice supply of those. And I also got the Simplicity 8613 Mimi G style top. He wants me to do the back a little bit longer than the front for when he puts a rucksack on. It says it pulls the back up, so we're already hacking the pattern. And he wants the V-neck and long sleeves, so he'll want the long sleeves from that one and the V-neck from that one, and longer at the back. So I'm going to give that a try and see how we go. I always like it if my children ask me to make them something, so I'm hoping that I do a good job, but I shall let you know. So all that's left today is Walkies with Charlie, but this time it's going to be Walkies without Charlie. Although she came with us when we went in the caravan, and we went on lots of lovely walks, the weather was a bit hit and miss, so although I took photos of lots of places, it was quite grey, in some grey and bleak. It looked bleak. It wasn't as bad as it looked on some of them, but we're going back to the same place next year, and I'm hoping the weather will be better and we can take some nice photos. But one of the days we went out to Tenby, and I love Tenby. It's the town itself is quite busy, and the shops are in the walls of the castle grounds, and up on the hill there's an old Victorian school that they've converted to a museum. And then on another little hill, there's a building that you can go into. It used to be a zoo, and I think it's been a jail. But anyway, there's that. I've taken a few photos of those, and the beaches and the pretty little pastel coloured houses. It's just really nice. So Martin and I went. We didn't take the dog. Dogs aren't allowed on the beach in the summer, and it's so busy in the town. I didn't think it was fair for her, so we took her for a walk first, and then she had a little snooze in the caravan, and we had a walk around Tenby. So I hope you enjoy that, and I will see you all soon. Bye.